So we have discussed the purchase of goods, which is opposite to the sale of goods, right? Purchase of goods here will lead to increase in asset stock because we are buying more stock, right? But if we pay with cash or check, then an asset, cash, or bank will decrease. Okay. If we are purchasing it on credit, then we are going to have a liability, which is a creditor or a supplier who we owe. Good. So let's look at the first example. I only have Richmond and Alexia, so let me read. So purchase goods worth 3,640 Ghana cedis from Shatta Limited on credit. On credit. So this is credit purchases. Credit purchases. So straight ahead, asset stock is increasing because we are purchasing, and because it's on credit, we are going to have a creditor or a liability. Right, and here the name of the creditor is Shatta Limited. So in terms of the debit and credit, if asset stock is increasing, you are going to debit an account. What account is that? It is the purchases account. So you open the purchases account and debit it to show the increase in stock, which is an asset. And then you open the creditors account, Shatta Limited, and credit the creditor. Good. Now, if we bought it on cash, so the second example is the cash basis. So on 15 January 2022, bought goods, so bought goods or purchased goods is the same thing, worth 2,500 from Qt Limited, paying by check. So in this transaction, we paid, unlike the first transaction where we didn't pay, it was on credit. So if we paid with check, it means that asset bank is decreasing. Because if you are paying money from your bank account, your bank will decrease. So asset bank will decrease. And since we are buying goods, still asset stock will increase. So asset stock will increase and asset bank will decrease. If asset stock is increasing, you debit which account? Your purchases account. Asset bank is decreasing. When an asset is decreasing, you credit. That's why we are crediting bank here and debiting purchases. I believe we are good to go. Okay. Now, before we go to the fifth one, I would want to quickly summarize all that we have done and then see if I can get positive views from your end. So the first transaction we saw is investment by the owner of the business. The second one was acquisition of an asset, that is buying an asset. So let me increase my font size. Yes. So the second one was purchasing or buying or acquisition of an asset. So if you are really following, we've done some purchasing, but one is goods and one is asset, right? Always differentiate your purchase of goods from your purchase of asset. Now, regarding the purchase of asset, we saw you can purchase using cash or check, and you can also purchase on credit. The third transaction we have seen is sale of goods. And that one too, we've seen that you can sell the goods for cash or check, which is cash sales, or you can do it on credit. And finally, the fourth one is the purchase or buying of goods. Again, you can do it on cash or check basis, or you can do it on credit. I want to believe in each of these transactions, you remember what we have said so far about it. Okay. So let's move on to the fifth one. The fifth one speaks about acquisition of a loan. So the business is going to take a loan. And if I may ask, is a loan a liability, an asset, or capital? Loan. Yes, Prof. Alexia and Prof. Richmond, who is going to answer that for me? Loan. Is loan a liability or an asset? Let me call the gentleman first. Prof. Richmond, loan, is it a liability or an asset? Okay, I think Prof. Alexia wanted to say something. So, Prof. Alexia, go ahead. Ladies first, right?
Sir, please. A loan is a liability.
Thank you very much. A loan is a liability. So it means that the business is going to get a liability, because if a loan is a liability, then we are going to have liability as one of the elements in such transaction. So anytime a business is going for a loan, a liability is created. And of course, it is going to increase. Loan and I say, your loan is going up, so the liability will increase. However, the loan that you are taking is money, esika. So Luca Pacioli always looks at the two sides. So yes, I have a liability, which is loan, but the loan is also money. So that is cash. If it is paid into an account or via check, then that is bank. Okay. So let's look at how you deal with this transaction. So like Prof. Alexia said, the first thing will be the loan, which is the liability. So there will be an increase in liability loan, and there will also be increase in asset, which is cash or bank, because the money, the loan will come in the form of cash or bank, right? So anytime you see a business is going for loan, the two elements are asset, which is cash or bank, and then liability, which is the loan. Okay. Yeah. So in terms of the debit and credit, you are going to open the loan account. If the money came in the form of cash, you open the cash account. And since cash is going to increase and it's an asset, you debit cash, and loan, a liability is increasing. And per the table, when liability increase, we credit. If we got the loan through a check, then we'll open bank account and the loan account. But sometimes if the name of the bank is given, you can attach it to the loan account. But please, the main account you open is the loan account as a liability. Okay. Any question on this one? So let's add it to our summary. The fifth transaction is acquisition loan, when the business is going for a loan. Okay. I think we'll do the sixth one. We'll do the sixth one. Let's see what is in the sixth one. Settlement of a liability. Settlement of a liability. Oh, Sir Richmond is also gone, so I'm only left with Prof. Alexia. Okay, settlement of a liability. Okay, so Prof. Alexia, what do you understand by settling a liability? What does it mean? Just something small to tell me.
So please, I think it's like how do you say as in you are paying it off, like yeah.
Okay, good. That is true. You are paying off a liability. That is very true. That is very true. You are paying off a liability. Good. So if you are paying off a liability, let's look at the modalities. Example, business, Mr. Amwa Enterprise. I owe some people, so that is a liability, and I want to pay them. I am definitely going to pay with money. So asset, cash, or bank will decrease, because if we are referring to money, we are looking at our cash account or bank account. The bank comes in when it is check. So if I'm going to settle or pay off a liability, I'm going to use my cash or bank. So the first element is the asset, cash, or bank will decrease. Now, since I'm paying off the liability, it also makes sense to say that the liability would also decrease. So example, Prof. Alexia owes Prof. Richmond 100 cedis. Okay, and then Prof. Alexia uses 100 cedis of her cash, which was 200 cedis, to pay off Sir Richmond's or Prof. Richmond's owing. Then it means that Prof. Alexia as a business will lose cash. So there's going to be a decrease in cash. And again, how much he owes Richmond is also going to decrease. So anytime there's settlement of a liability, an asset will decrease and liability will also decrease. Now, the asset that will decrease is the cash or bank. And when an asset is decreasing, we credit. And then if a liability is also decreasing, we debit. Okay, so that is what basically is written here, that anytime there is a settlement of a loan or a creditor, which is a liability, there's decrease in the liability, and the asset, which is the cash or bank that is used to settle, also decreases. So assets decrease and liability also decrease. So we debit the liability for decreasing, and then we credit the asset for for also decreasing. So an example is here, paid a creditor Abakwa by check 3,000. So the business is paying a creditor, which is a liability, a check. So bank is going to decrease. So we credit bank, and the creditor Abakwa's balance is also going to decrease. So we debit her as well. So I believe it's very simple. Okay. Before we go to the 7th, so we have 4 more to go. But before we go to the 7th, let's see if we can remember some of the things we have said here. Settlement of a liability. And maybe I'll put in some specific examples for us to try our hands on, since we are the only people standing. All the rest have run away because of network. Okay, so investment by the owner, quickly, we said that this will lead to capital account and then asset account, right? So no doubt about that. Regarding purchase of an asset with cash or check, the two accounts are the cash or bank account and then the asset which was bought. If it's on credit, if we bought the asset on credit, we are still going to have the asset account and then have the creditor, the one who we bought the asset from on credit. So the creditor for the asset. When you come to sale of goods, one thing you have to pay attention to is that anytime you sell goods, the first account is the sales account. And the second account will be cash or bank if it is cash or check sales. And for a credit sale, you would have a debtor. So in the case of the first one, which is cash or check, we have our sales account. Then we have our cash or bank account. If the sales was on credit, we are still going to have our sales account. but this time we'll have the debtors account. Purchase of goods is the opposite of sales. So here, if it's cash or check, the first account is your purchases account, and the second account is your cash or bank. If it's on credit, still you have your purchases account, but this time you would have the creditors account. Creditors account as the second account. Okay. And I want to believe you remember the debits and credits respectively. So let me give some transactions here and let's test our brains. Okay, so number one.
Hello, sir. Sir.
Yes, Prof. Alexia. Go ahead.
Please, your voice is breaking. Your network.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me clearly now?
Please, your connection. Yes, please.
Okay, is it back now? Is it back now?
Yes, please, it's better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think I'm hearing some thunderstorms, so it seems the rains are also reaching me here. Bishop has prayed to God to add me to the rain zone. No problem. Let's continue. Okay, so I was just making reference or doing summaries of what we've discussed so far from yesterday, starting from investment by the owner, purchasing an asset, sale of goods, purchase of goods, acquisition of a loan, and settlement of a liability.
Sir.
Yes, dear.
Mr. Mo.
Yes, dear.
Please, it has become bad again.
Wow. Is it okay now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's take the first transaction. Sir Richmond, Prof. Richmond. Can you hear me yourself? Okay. So let's take the first transaction. On 1st December 2023, sold goods to Alexia Limited on credit, $5,000. Okay, so please, who is going to digest this transaction for me? Sold goods to Alexia Limited on credit, $5,000. Since the business is Alexia Limited, let me go to Sir Richmond. Oh, yes, dear. It's breaking again, eh?
Yes, please.
Oh, but I can hear you perfectly. Or is it at your end? Oh, Richmond is even gone. Okay, Prof. Alexia, if you can hear me, you go ahead and tell me about your analysis of this transaction and the two accounts we have to open and the debits and credits, respectively.
Okay, so please, we'll have to open a cash account and a sales account.
Okay, we have to open the sales account. Good. And the second one, did you say cash account? We sold the goods on credit.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So please, I'm confused.
Okay, we sold the goods on credit. So this is a credit sale, right? So we didn't take money. So cash cannot come in here because we didn't take money.
Okay.
So the second account will be the debtor, right? Because the customer didn't pay, and the debtor here is Alexia. Alexia Limited.
Okay.
You get it now?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. So, Prof. Richmond, welcome back. Okay, so the two accounts will be sales account and the data Alexia account. But if you are opening the account, you can ignore the data and open just Alexia Limited. But you know that the business is a data. So who are we going to debit and who are we going to credit? Yeah, Richmond.
Debit Alexia Limited and credit sales account.
Exactly. So you are supposed to credit sales and debit Alexia. Why are we crediting sales? We are crediting sales because if the business is selling goods, asset, stock decreases. And if an asset decreases, we credit it. And here the account that we are supposed to credit is the sales account. That is why we are crediting sales. Thank you very much, Prof. Richmond. And we are debiting Alexia. We will debit Alexia because Alexia becomes an asset, data, which is also going to increase. Okay. So please get it straight that anytime you sell goods on credit, if you sell goods on credit, and of course the question will make it known to you, sold goods to whoever on credit, right? Or sometimes they can even make it sold goods to Alexia, just like that, 5 million, without indicating the credit. Since the name is there, it means the goods was sold to that person on credit. So that person becomes a debtor. So take note of that. So it's always your sales account and the debtors account. Let me do another one. So number 2, purchased goods from Richmond Enterprise. $4,000 on 1st November 2023. Okay, who is going to do this? Prof. Richmond, I think this is your business, so you would answer it for us. Or Prof. Alexia, you want to try it?
Sir, please, you can do it.
Okay, so Prof. Richmond, Alexia says no holiday for you, so please come and deal with your business. So what are the two accounts and who do we debit, who do we credit?
Okay, so purchase goods. So increasing assets and decreasing asset cash.
Okay.
And we are going to debit the purchase account.
Okay, so we'll open purchases account. Good. And then we'll open what? Cash account, right? Is it cash account? So I was just teasing your brain. We would open purchase account and Richmond's account or Richmond Enterprise account. Why? Because like I indicated in the first instance, if the transaction is not labeled with cash or check and there is a name in there, it means the transaction was on credit basis. So take note of that. So here we purchase goods from Richmond Enterprise, right? If we paid cash, the question would have added, or the transaction would have indicated that we paid cash. If we paid check, the question would have done that. But if those two are not there, it means that we purchased the goods from Richmond and we didn't pay. That is why the name is in there for us. Okay, so we are going to debit purchases account. Anytime you purchase goods, you see, as we move on, you have to get some summaries. Anytime you purchase goods, you debit purchases account. The corresponding credit entry would go into cash or bank if you purchase with cash or check, or it will go into the creditors account, which is the name of the supplier who you bought from on credit. The same thing applies to the sales. Anytime you sell goods, you open sales account and you credit it. The corresponding debit goes into cash or bank, or the debtors account if you sold it on credit. Okay, so I think that I would not want to stress you. So we'll wrap up today's lesson here. I think the network has been fairly bad to us, but all the same, we have been able to sail through. So I'll see if I can share the recordings on the page and also add some few assignments. Okay. I'll try and see if I can schedule another time to have more discussions with you aside our normal class, just to cover up for some of the hitches with the network. Okay.